And now it's my turn and my pleasure to welcome Charles Evans. I'm not going to tell you anything about him because we've put quite a bit of publicity round about. He's been on Radio Leeds, we've got a poster outside which Stuart has done, and he'll fill in you in the rest. So will you give a welcome to Charles Evans, who is all the way from Northumberland, and I know he's going to Iona to paint shortly. He does all sorts of things, so Charles Evans.
Has anybody seen me paint before? No? Just the one? Just the two? In that case, for those of you that are watercolour painters, you're about to have all your preconceptions dashed. Because watercolours is supposed to be the easiest medium. It's not. It's supposed to be the most difficult medium. It's not. It's the easiest. If you paint the way I do, which is just slap it on and stick a lot of paint on using big brushes and have fun. When it comes to drawing, people say, what kind of pencil do you use? Well, basically anything I can nick from my nephew's chalkboards. Because I'm not going to do cross-hatching and shading and all that kind of stuff. It's an outline drawing. And because most of you haven't seen me demonstrate before, I can do the same one again. The paper I use is called the Langton Rough. Are you all painters, by the way? Well, that makes a few of you then. The Langton Rough, it's only £140 weight, and I don't mess around and pre-stretch and stuff like that. I just tape it to the board. That's half a sheet. 2 distant hills, a middle distance line, and a path coming out of the middle distance there. It's a path. Yesterday it was a path. Because yesterday I was in Oxford, and this morning I was in High Wycombe. That's it, that's the drawing done. That was easy, wasn't it? Now when it comes to your painting, to your palette, as most of you will know, as your tutors tell you, always keep your palette pristine. Like that. I always keep it. I wash this at least once a year. Maybe. The brushes I use, that one, you don't actually need unless you're decorating the lounge, quite frankly. I use it because it's big and red and everybody can see what I'm doing with it. The rest I'll tell you about in a minute. But first, the sky wash. Now for the sky wash, this is the most difficult bit, or everybody thinks it is. Actually, it's really simple, as long as you don't fiddle about. Loads and loads of water, all the way down, into the bottom hill there. From the top, all the way down to the bottom. A bit like decorating the lounge, isn't it? All the way down there, into the bottom hill. And just when you think you've got too much water on there, whack another one on. Like I said, the paper's not pre-stretched and it's only £140 weight, but it's still not going to cockle and ruckle on me. There's not going to be any of that business. There'll be a slight bowing in the middle, but as that dries out, it'll dry out flat. Mop up that bottom line there. That's all I need to do. Keep an eye on the bottom line. Get rid of any little drips, as my mother used to say. First colour, yellow ochre. Nice and bright. Remember, it's going to dry 50% lighter than when I stick it on. So make it good and strong. Yellow ochre all the way across there. Now, burnt sienna, nice and bright. Stick that in the middle section there. God, that's bright, isn't it? And again, mop up that bottom line. Wipe it on your frock. Now, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna mixed. A good strong mixture this. I do stage shows all over the country, and the old auditoriums, whereby the stage is very low, and the crowd kind of go halfway around the stage. This is the bit where you can always guarantee the guy there's got a white shirt on. First common mistake, normally people put that colour on, get to the other colours, and stop. Don't. Go all the way through. You're still going to see the other colours shining through them. All the way down to the bottom. A bit more of that, I think. A bit darker. Just there. This is just like decorating the lounge. Now when it comes to clouds, big heavy clouds, again, mop up that bit first. Again, it's ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, this time darker. Any questions? What? Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, more burnt sienna into it this time, make it darker. All the way down there. A bit more blue. And whack that in the top. That's another thing. You learn lots of technical terms tonight. Whack, splodge, daub, squiggly bit, they're all in there. All the way down there and bring it down a bit. And a bit down here. Now for light clouds, this is the bit where people normally have problems because this is where you need your cotton wool buds, your tissues, your sponges, your ear prodders, your kitchen roll, pots of salt, hair dry. You need it all. You don't. All you need is your brush. Squeeze out the water, take out your clouds. Look. That's difficult, isn't it? Take out some more there. And there. Used to be a plasterer by training. I didn't. A bit more out there. Effectively all I'm doing is sucking paint out of the paper. So if I wanted light areas, I mean lighter clouds, coming over the top of the hills, take it out there, drop it back down there. And again, wash out my brush, squeeze out surplus water, take out on top there. Like so. Just take it out. Basically, if you spend more than 5 minutes on your sky, you're ruining it. Because it's drying on you. You're trying to take clouds out of a drying piece of paper or drop clouds into a drying piece of paper. And you're creating hard, scratchy lines. 5 minutes. Have the whole thing finished while the paper's still sopping wet. Any questions on that? Again, mop up that bottom line.
Would it come out just as easy if the paper hadn't been wet before you
No.
put it down?
No.
It's the wetness underneath that allows it to come out.
It's watercolour. Plenty of water. Don't be afraid of the water. But also don't be afraid of the colour. Stick plenty on. People think that watercolours have got to be weak and wishy-washy. They don't. Weak and wishy-washy is a relatively new thing. The great masters of watercolour like Turner, Constable, Cotman, they never painted weak watercolours. They were strong. They had plenty of power in them. The Victorians used to actually frame the watercolours without glass, like an oil painting, because they were so thick and heavy. Well, the Victorians would go too far. But there is a happy medium, and it doesn't have to be weak. Powerful watercolours. Any more questions? I've finished with that one now. For the rest of the paper, for the rest of the painting, what I use for everything are those 3 brushes there. A 3/4 inch flat, a number 8 round, and a number 2 or a number 3 rigger. There's lots of fad brushes out there, what I call fad brushes. I know one of my best mates makes his living out of soda, Terry Harrison. But these things, the classical shape brushes, have been around since they are, been around longer than me. The reason why I use those in particular is because it's 1/3 sable and 2/3 synthetic. So it'll carry a nice big wash, like a sable brush. But then when a sable's too soft, for the hard taking out techniques, that's hard enough to do it as well. I'm a supplied artist, I don't pay for anything. But I get everything, so I can have anything I want. Brushes like this is called the Diana. That's £158, that one. Hand-cut sable, each individual hair's hand-cut, tapered, hand-beaten ferrule, hand-lacquered stem, rolled on the thigh of a Cuban virgin. Everything. It's not very versatile. It'll carry a nice big wash, but then it's not hard enough to take out the paint. So that means I've got to carry another brush, one to put it on with and another one to take it out with. Keep it simple, 3 brushes. I do painting holidays all over the country. Ask me, I can paint anything with those 3. People arrive on painting holidays with their own kit, honestly. There's 3 brushes in that finger, 3 in that one, 3 in that one, 2 in the pocket, 1 behind her ear, 1 in the mouth. What's next? But quite frankly, you've lost the moment. Keep it simple, 3 brushes. You know exactly what each one can do. Don't complicate things. Any more questions? Fine. It's dry. That was a good stall, wasn't it? Because I never use hairdryers. Seriously, if you use hairdryers and all that kit, it means that you then need it to paint. You get dependent on all that stuff. And so, you're dependent on your hairdryer, you can't paint without it, then you get on location and there's no plug sockets. So, your hairdryer's no good. You could have laughed at that one, but you missed it. Thank you. Keep it simple. You don't need all that kit. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. And for the distant hills, all I'm doing is dropping that in there, following my pencil line, all the way down there. I want that to be a distant hill. If I do too much detail in it, it'll come too far forward. At the moment, it's just a big blue blob lying flat. So instead of putting detail in, take a bit of light out, just like in the clouds. Dry out my brush, suck some paint out there. And a bit more on here. God, it's gone quiet, hasn't it? Wakefield never used to be this quiet. Actually, the last time I was in this place, it was about that big. And they set off a 30-mile walk from here. It used to be a sponsored walk, 30 miles. And they set off from this place, I just realised. That's the last time I've been in church. Well, a Methodist church, anyway. Actually, no, it's not. I did a Methodist church hall in Wales about a year ago. And there were really stern-faced looking people. They were all Welsh Methodists, basically. And they were really stern-faced. And not a giggle anywhere. And then I was going through the colours and I said about this hooker's green. And this lady at the back stuck her hand up and said, "Excuse me, which colour did you say?" And there were about 300 people there without a sound. I said hookers as in stand outside the station, swing your hand back. And everybody kind of went, and they invited me back after that. Now again, it's ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. For those of you that have got pads out, you can see there are some. I use 7 colours for everything. That doesn't mean 7 colours in everything, but once I've got those 7, I can do every kind of picture. Those are ultramarine blue and burnt sienna and yellow ochre, which we've already got. Raw umber, hooker's green, alizarin crimson, and cerulean blue. Once you've got those, do everything. You don't need any more. Dale around and keep telling me off for telling people that. They keep saying, but Charles, there's 86 colours in the range. That's not my problem. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. There we go. Whack that in again. All the way down to the bottom there. This time I'm leaving a bit of the top of the hill not painted. There is a reason for that. I can't think of one yet, but there will be one. All the way along there. Yellow ochre, plenty of water into it. And while that hill's still wet, drop yellow ochre on top of it. Just drop that on there. All the way along. Now, if I wash out my brush, merge those 2 colours together a bit, take some blue from here, drop it into the yellow, soften the line between the two. I've captured a bit of light on top of that hill without fiddling about too much. And along the bottom there. Easy, isn't it? Anyone gone to sleep yet? With this painting business, I mean, painting's supposed to be a nice quiet life. I do 60,000 miles a year. In my car, that is. And on TV, I've got a TV series in the northeast of England, Tyne T television. And we've just made our 70th programme, so it's a lot of telly. And on TV, you can't just paint pictures, there's got to be an angle to it. No matter what you're doing, there's got to be an angle to it. And for mine, they've come up with this handle, the Action Man of Watercolours. How do you be an Action Man of Watercolours? We did a programme on Bramham horse trials at Wetherby. And I couldn't just paint the picture that was a lovely scene there, Wetherby, Bramham. Have you ever been there? Fabulous place. I couldn't just paint the picture, I had to ride the cross-country course first, then get off my horse and do a picture. So that was good. But I used to be a 3-day event horse rider, so I could do that. But one that particularly fazed even me was RAF Air Sea Rescue at RAF Boomer in Northumberland. And I was having a fabulous day in an Air Sea Rescue helicopter, 200 feet above the sea. Could see for miles. Beautiful. Then my director said, right, you can get out now. I said, He'd arranged for this winch to be set up, but hadn't told me about it because he knew I wouldn't do it. So they then spent 20 minutes strapping me into this winch, me kicking and screaming, and then they threw me out the side door, and I was kind of hanging there on this arm for a bit, just out of kicking range, before they lowered me down. At that stage, he handed me a hardback sketchbook and a pencil, and said, "I'd like a sketch of the headland in the distance." I said, "I'm sure you would," and words to that effect. You ever tried doing a sketch like that? Because they spin you around, and he's leaning out of the helicopter shouting, "Kick your leg out," because apparently that slows you down, but that doesn't work out then. I got the sketch done though. God, I can't see now. Yellow ochre again. Plenty of water into this. Loads and loads of yellow ochre. Loads of water. And I'm starting in the foreground area, what will be the foreground grasses. But I'm not doing grass yet, I'm just sticking colour on. And then eventually, when I put the grass in there, you'll see yellow ochre showing through and a bit of burnt sienna showing through. Plenty of warm colours. Bit of yellow ochre over the other side as well. Over here. For the path. Now, on the path, I want a nice sparkly effect as it's catching some light. With a rough surface paper, that's really easy to do, because all I have to do, first of all, yellow ochre, just stroke over the surface, pick up the surface of the paper so the colour doesn't go into the indentations. Look, leave sparkly white bits showing through. Now, afterwards, when I put the dark colour on, I'll have bits of white paper showing through and bits of yellow ochre showing through. Clear as mud, that, isn't it? It'll work. Trust me, I'm an artist. Now, burnt sienna. Plenty of water into the burnt sienna. And plenty of that over there as well. I'm not going to put this in the path. The path.
Is it anywhere in particular to see?
This is Alnwick Moor, about 10 miles from my house in Northumberland. I live in Northumberland, God's country as far as I'm concerned. You can just paint anywhere. But I also live in Blackheath down in London. And I moved to Blackheath about 2.5 years ago. And people say, "You live at two lovely ends of the country. Where do you spend most of your time?" A1, M1, M6. But you know what they say about, I'm from Castleford originally, and you know what they say about Londoners can't understand a word that Yorkshire folk say. It works both ways. When I moved into Blackheath, my next door neighbours, Bill and Jean, lovely couple, have been there since the war. And he said, "You all right, Charlie?" I said, "I'm all right, Bill." And he said, "It's my wife, Jean." I said, "Jean? Jane? No, Jane. Jane? No, Jane." And it was Jean. So it couldn't just be Bill and Jean, it had to be Bill and Jane. Now, Hooker's Green, burnt sienna. I use Hooker's Green because... That's good, that, isn't it? I use Hooker's Green because it's a fabulous mixing green. People say, "I see you don't make your own greens." No, because I'm limiting myself to 7 colours. I want to be portable all the time. 7 colours. If I wanted to make every kind of green, I'd have to carry every kind of yellow and every kind of blue. Hooker's Green straight from the tube is horrible. It's a horrible colour. But as a mixing green, it's fabulous. Out of the 7 colours that I use, if you take Hooker's Green out of the equation of 7, you can mix each of the other 6 in, one at a time, make 6 fabulous different greens. Trust me, I'm an artist. Now, plenty of water into that, Hooker's Green burnt sienna. Whack a bit of that over there. I'm still not making grass, I'm just dropping bits of painting. And I'm going to leave some of that burnt sienna showing through and some of the yellow ochre and some white paper here and there, all the way across there. Bit over this side. And just drop it on top there. Have you ever seen in a landscape picture, in a landscape painting, when there's a path in, and it quite often looks like the path is kind of sitting on top of the grass rather than sitting down as part of the landscape, sitting in the grass. That's because a lot of people paint it in very carefully at the end, being very careful not to dirty it. If you want that path to sit down in the landscape, get all the colours of the landscape in it. And so while the grass colour is still wet, I'll put the final wash on the path. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna again. Plenty of water into that. and just pick up the surface of the paper. It'll look like I'm losing it, first of all. Some people would say I lost it a long time ago. Just stroke over there, pick up the surface of the paper and dab on in the distance. Dragging from side to side, pulling those greens in a little bit. And then I'll pull the path out again in a minute with the dark grass. But for the time being, leave it like it is. Again, hooker's green and burnt sienna. Very dark green this time. I use something called the key colour system. What that meant, this was invented by T. Turner, key colour system. What that means basically is whatever is the predominant colour in your biggest wash, so it's ultramarine blue in the sky, put it all the way through the picture. So there's even blue in the grass. It won't look like blue grass, but it's in there. Helps everything to harmonise and sit well together. Because if you're not careful, you can end up in the same picture with the sky from the south of France, middle distance from Northumberland, foreground from Torquay. Everything's opposing each other. Keep it in harmony. So into that mixture, hooker's green and burnt sienna, I'm going to put ultramarine blue as well. Blue into the grass. I'm going to paint proper grasses now. Tufts of grass. Now, there's lots of ways of doing this. The most common way I see is that you go to your smallest brush and you paint 5 million blades of grass. And when I finish that tomorrow, it'll be a right mess because it'll be stiff and lifeless. Don't go there. Stick to your big wash brush. Look, tufts of grass instead. See that? Much more effective. First, I need to subtly and gently apply colour to the foreground areas. Like that. Once I've whacked that in, then with the side of the brush, look, drag it up. Because I'm just using 3 brushes, you get to use every edge of the brush. That's the side of the brush, dragging it up. Drag up here. And then flick up with the edge of the brush there. I want to edge that path again with the dark green colour. And again, flick up. More water in there. As I go further away, I'm just dabbing on. Picking up the surface of the paper there. I was once doing a show and this guy stuck his hand up and said, "That sounds just like a duck washing itself." Kind of life to some people lead. Again, flicking up. Flat edge of the brush. Again, drag out this path with the dark green there. Duck washing itself again. Wakefield never used to be this quiet. My first ever job was in Wakefield. I worked for the vet at the Bull Ring. I was his assistant. I used to hold the puppies while he chopped the tails off. Good job that was. All you needed was chips on the way home. Again, dab in there. You know how sometimes you'll see in a very dark bit of grass what's going to be grass. People like to see some individual light strands of grass sticking up. I've seen masking fluid used for that and all kinds of stuff. Don't go there. Look, while it's still wet. Simple, isn't it? Just check it out with your fingernail. Again, dab on. And again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. This time very, very dark. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. Loads of burnt sienna into it. And again, dabbing on, dragging up with the side of the brush. I want some really, really dark stuff down here in the immediate foreground. Remember, watercolours always look better from a distance. Mine normally look better from 1¼ miles through binoculars. But you can have a look at this close up in the interval. Again, dabbing on and dragging up. A few flicks here in front of the path. and a few there. And over here, nice and dark there. People say, do you get the chance to paint these days? You know, go out and paint, just for the sake of painting. About once every 6 months. And the last time, about 3 months ago, I was actually up on Alnwick Moor, and fabulous day, a bit windy, miles away from anywhere. I've been on the road for about 3 months. I was miles away from anywhere, not a soul in sight. I set up my easel, and I'm painting away, and I'm just doing the sky, and I thought, this sky's not going well, and I couldn't understand why, because skies never don't go well. And I suddenly realised I was standing at the side here so that everybody could see. There's nobody for miles. A few flicks here. And now, a few light grasses in there. Keep wiping it on your frock. I only wear a smock to keep my mother in a job. Actually, I'm 48 and my mother's just stopped saying get a proper job. A few flicks there. Now, in any landscape, it's good to have some verticals, because verticals aid recession, take you off into the distance. And so in something like this, there's always snow posts up on the moors, always. All you need is some sticks. Again, my big wash brush. Just draw it down. Just make sure they get smaller the further away they go. Technical term, mish it in at the bottom. And a few bits of rough. I like a few bits of rough. In the path. Just dab on with the corner of my wash brush again. Has anybody watched that Frank Clark geezer on telly, the little Irish chap? Yes? Sorry about that. Now, I'm just wiping off surplus paint and just darken this area here a little bit. Just stroke over, just pick up the surface of the paper. There. Darken it just there. Actually, I do take the mickey out of Frank Clark, but he has made 2 major contributions to the world of fine art. Here's both of them. Actually, that one's an albatross. Just there. Any questions? It's easy, isn't it? When it comes to tape and stuff like that, I don't use that brown lick and stick stuff, because one, it will take the surface off your paper. When you try to peel it off, it will take the surface off the edge of your paper. I like a nice white edge all the way around. And if you try to tear it off, it will take the surface off, or you have to cut it off so you haven't got a white edge. More importantly, I prefer masking tape, because that brown stuff tastes bloody awful. And I heard it on radio too, so it must be true. Every time you lick a stamp, it's 5 calories. Said it on radio too. That lot is called chips twice at least. Take off your tape and have a nice white edge all the way around. Nice white edge, which makes the thing stand out. There you go, first landscape. Now, a lot of the same things worry a lot of people in watercolours. The main one being skies. So many people worry about skies. Well, you've seen how easy they are, and I'll show you a different kind of sky after the break. But another worry to people are trees. Trees worry so many people, and actually they're not difficult. If you've got a problem with trees, start with a tree that's easy to achieve, to get the effect of. But it needs to be a tree that's versatile and powerful in the landscape. It needs to be a strong tree. And one that fits the bill perfectly. Scots pine. Now, with Scots pine, they're everywhere. And it's a very effective way of getting a tree. Rigger brush, just so easy this. Rigger brush and yellow ochre. Plenty of water into it. And all I need is a stick. Going down there like that. I mean, you can change the shape of them however you like, but it's the same kind of format. Yellow ochre, another stick coming out of there. Now, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, very dark, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Whichever side you've got the light coming from, have this on the opposite side. There. I've got a dark side and a light side. Bit of that down here as well. Now, a few squiggly bits coming out the top, twigs there, look. And as they come further down, they get less distinct, so that they're just sticks poking out. Very simple. Back to my big wash brush. You see how versatile that is? That is the thing I use for everything. It did all of that landscape practically. Yellow ochre, and a good daub of that on the top there. Now, again, Hooker's green and burnt sienna. Hooker's green, burnt sienna, nice and dark. And a daub of that in amongst the yellow. And as I come further down, just dab on. There you go. Scots pine. A fir tree, Christmas tree. All you need, again, your big wash brush, is a pole. Coming down, just thicker at the bottom. And just with the corner of the wash brush, dab on and come down. The further down I come, the more I lay the brush on. Then side to side. It's simple. Isn't it? Grasses, look. Tufts of grass. All with a big wash brush. Use the side of the brush. Drag up. When I was doing that tapping on in the middle distance, just pick up the surface of the paper. Look. Simple. Sharp grasses, all with the big wash brush. Edge of the brush. If you've got an old oak tree or something like that in the middle distance, you can move things around a little bit. Put things in full foliage if you find difficulty with them. Move them back a little bit further. Put them in the middle distance slightly. It makes everything that much easier. Yellow ochre and Hooker's green. Yellow ochre and Hooker's green. Quite a light green. And all I need is a daub of that there. Now, Hooker's green and burnt sienna, a darker green. Hooker's green, burnt sienna, nice and dark. Plenty of water into that. And a daub of that down the other side there. A stick, a couple of diagonal sticks. There you go. Easy. Boats. Now, I'll do you one more tree. Another tree that is fabulous in our landscape, but it's an absolute pig to paint. Silver birch, because you've got all those ridges and knobbly bits in the trunk. It's not, it's dead easy. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, that colour again. Imagine for a minute that that's not just a plain white piece of paper. I've got an underlying wash there, which is dried. I'm now going to paint my trees up into it, okay? Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, my rigger brush again. Just pick up the surface of the paper, look. Because it's a nice rough surface paper, pick up the surface of the paper, stroke across. Just dragging it across the paper. There. And again, keep going. A few twigs coming out of there. It's all birch, dead easy, isn't it? Now, boats. If you're doing a lake scene is so easily enhanced by a boat on it, kind of thing. And I don't mean on a side view where it's just flat, dead easy to paint. People don't put boats floating around facing you because it's difficult to get that shape of a boat. I'm not talking about painting the Queen Mary here, I'm talking about a little yacht or something on a lake, in the middle distance again. A boat is so easy to get, so you don't have to worry about it. So you know that old religious sign that you see on the back of cars these days? That fish. Look. You know which one I mean? Yeah. See it on the back of cars. Once you've done that, all you need is a stick, another stick, and a stick there. Easy, isn't it? Use your imagination. Leave one of the sticks out. So you've got, there's your fish. But don't finish off that tail. There. Easy. It's the same Northumberland, different fiddle. Life. Putting life into a painting. If you're petrified about painting people, put some farm animals in instead. And one farm animal that's in every county, doesn't matter where you live. Sheep. They're everywhere. But to do sheep, you don't need to see 4 little legs and a waggly tail and 2 fluffy ears. All you need is a loaf of bread. Look, here we go. Loaf of bread. See that? One end slightly flatter than the other. On the end of that, stick a little knob there. That shape I've just drawn is that. Now, back to my round brush, yellow ochre. Got some funny coloured sheep in Northumberland. Yellow ochre, and just drop that in there. Drag it down a bit. Now, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, again, very dark. Plenty of water into that. Have that round there. Make a V there. And fill that bit in. A few dabs of paint there. Now I'm going to wash out my brush, squeeze out surplus water, and just stipple those colours together, look. Stipple them together. Dry brush. Again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, very dark. And colour that bit in there. Bit of grass there. Sheep grazing. So simple. There is a theory, people are just as easy. There is a theory that, it's Frank again. If you do a carrot with a P on top, that's a person. Well, actually, that's a carrot with a P on top. But people are not that much more difficult. I'll just turn over. They're not that much more difficult than the carrot with a P on top, and they look better. Like I keep saying, these are your landscapes. Move things around if you want. Have a couple of people walking away in the middle distance. Instant life added to it. And you don't need to go into detail. Your people, in your landscape, if you can write your people, then you can do people. YP. YP, full stop. You can write it, and you can do it. Here we go. I'll do you 2 people. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna because it's dark. 2 full stops first. There's one. There's another one. Now, alizarin crimson, nice and bright. Here's my first letter P. Leave a gap there. below the full stop. Letter P. This time, colour it in. Now, yellow ochre. Nice and bright. Another letter P, this time turn it around. So it's the other way around. See that? Another letter P, the other way around. Again, fill it in. Now, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Here's my letter Y. See that? Again, fill it in. Another letter Y. And again, fill it in. A couple of bits of shadow there. There you go. Two people walking off in the middle distance. You could even have them walking the dog. Ultramarine blue burnt sienna of a black dog. All I need there for walking the dog look is a square. Actually, you could have them walking the cat as well. Square, and then a smaller square inset. A couple of sticks. There you go. Easy. Just a square. I'll show you that bigger look. Here, square. Inset into that, a smaller square. A couple of sticks there. When it's smaller, it's a dog or a cat. Any questions? There, that's my drawing done. Actually, it is a little bit more difficult. All I'm going to do is split that by putting a little hillock there. What are you calling a hillock? And then that, I'm going to split that horizontal line, I'm going to split that diagonally there. That's it, that's the drawing done. Any questions? Again, when it comes to painting, exactly the same style, but a totally different sky this time. We're going to have a big, light, fluffy, twee, nice sky, instead of some with some character.
What in Northumberland?
Again, loads and loads of water, all the way up, all the way over. All the way down into my horizon line. When you're doing your horizon line, by the way, always make sure it's a third, not halfway up the paper. Never put your horizon line there. Because effectively what you're doing is you're splitting your picture in half. The eye will look at the top half or the bottom half, opposed to the overall picture. 1/3 land, 2/3 sky, or 2/3 land, 1/3 sky. Okay? Important. Now, all the way down into that bottom line. Again, all I need to do is keep an eye on that bottom line there, just keep mopping up, get rid of any drips. A bit more water there. Panic.
Can you put too much water on?
No. You can put too little on. Because what's happening, you see, is it's running down the bottom all the time, and I'm mopping up at the bottom, so I'm actually taking it out as well. Alizarin crimson and yellow ochre next. Alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. Plenty of water into that. Effectively, what I'm doing here is making a flesh tone. If I were to add some ultramarine blue in there, I'd have a lovely flesh tone. All the way along there. And again, mop up that bottom line. Now, ultramarine blue, plenty of water into it, ultramarine blue, and a touch of alizarin crimson. Not too much, I don't want it going purple, just a touch. Plenty of water into that. Whack there at the top. All the way down. That is horrible. Remember, it's going to dry 50% lighter than when I put it on.
Do you always paint the bottom half of the sky?
Yeah. And then I can have my top running down into the bottom. Give me a nice softer feel. Again, mop up that bottom line. Clouds. The The good bit. Wash out my brush, squeeze out surface water, take out your clouds.
How many brushes do you run in that way?
Actually, I've been using that for about 10 years. Seriously. I abuse brushes good style, and they still keep going. Take a bit more out there, I want that bigger. Difficult clouds, aren't they? You've got to make sure, when you're painting in my way, you've got to make sure that you haven't got a carpet down. And again, take it out down here. Oops, I picked some green up from somewhere there. Must be off my smock. Not a problem, you think? Go on. I'll have that a bit bigger there. Just don't mess around for more than 5 minutes. I'll take some out there, drop it back down in there. And again, take some light ones out there. Now, who asked that question? You see, I haven't got that running down now.
No.
Because I don't want it in this one. I've taken it out. Just keep stroking over it. Cloud shadow. If you want a cloud shadow, you know you see nice dark shadows in clouds. Again, ultramarine blue, this time burnt sienna, make it a grey blue. And drop that back in, just there. Side of the big brush, just dropping it back in. And again, wash out my brush, squeeze out surplus water, wipe it on your smock. Oh, I do like that bit. Oh. And again, soften the edge. Very, very simple technique. Works for all skies as long as you don't fiddle about too much. It's a great one. Now, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. And all I've got here, I'm just, with the corner of my wash brush, doing a few squiggly bits. Squiggly bits. It's a technical term. Just use the corner of the brush and then start and dab on a little bit. All I'm doing is leaving white paper showing through, but not in straight lines. Further away I go, I just dab on. And again, some more squiggly bits here. A bit more water into that, lighten it up a little bit, and fill in that bit in the back there. Look. That's just ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. Somebody said in the interval, God, it's hot in there, isn't it? I said, no, I always have that effect. Yellow ochre. Touch of that, plenty of water into it, and just drop that into the bottom of that little hillock there. There. Hooker's green and burnt sienna. Plenty of water in my hooker's green. What's that? Plenty of water in that hooker's green. Just drop that in the top there. And that's very, very distant sand dunes. Now, yellow ochre, plenty of it. Yellow ochre and a tiny, tiny touch of raw umber into the yellow ochre, just to darken it off a little bit. Yellow ochre, raw umber. Plenty of water into that, and just pick up the surface of the paper here, in the foreground, and just lay on a little bit more the further back I go. Bit of that there. Don't want that to be bright yellow. That's why I put the raw umber in, tone it down a little bit. Now, again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, plenty of water into it. And on all that lot, I want to put a couple of daubs of this here. Again, still my big wash brush, just stroke on there. And a few here. They will be puddles. And again, coming down. And a bit there. Don't want too much of that. Now, again, wash out my brush, squeeze out surplus water, take some paint out in amongst that so you've got some light bits. Any questions, by the way? No? Everyone's gone to sleep. This is one of those paintings that doesn't actually come to life till the last few strokes. And then it struggles. A couple of blobs. Just one there. And another one there. Bit of alizarin crimson, nice and bright. Actually, alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue mixed. Now, alizarin crimson, and all I'm doing, it's the same way as I did people, but this time I'm sticking an arm on this one. That's all I'm doing. Very simple. It's just a blob. Not messing about. Now, yellow ochre. No, I'll do it in green. Hooker's green. Nice and bright. I'm not mixing anything in with the hooker's green. It's just green. And just colour that around there. Now, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, very dark. And a couple of sticks and a Y. There and there. A couple of bits of shadow. And now a few reflections. That's why I put those bits in there, so I can add some reflection there. Bit of the ultramarine blue and burnt sienna coming down. Now a touch of alizarin crimson. Just drop that into that puddle as well. Now a touch of the hooker's green. Again, drop a bit of that into the puddle. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, just pick it up on there and pick up the surface of the paper up. Stroke over here and there. Not everywhere, a few bits there. Rough it up a bit. And a few touches down there. And just dab on here and there. Edge those puddles a bit with that dark colour. And a little bit of wildlife. That's got to be a seagull. Okay. And again, because I'm using the masking tape, and it's not that horrible stuff, I can just pull it off and have a nice white edge all the way around. And there you go, another landscape. Most people come to watercolours on retirement age. You haven't got the inclination all the time to actually start and do a year on colour mixing, tonal values and disappearing points and all that kind of stuff. What most people want to do is pick up a paintbrush and have some fun and get some results and enjoy it. Painting this way, there are no gimmicks or tricks to it. That's what I do all the time. Slap on the paint, get some result, let the water run around. But you're getting dirty and you're getting some results. And it's free. It's free and loose. There are times when, yes, you might need to fiddle about with watercolours, like if you're doing a bit of flower painting or interiors and still lifes and stuff like that. But for landscape, a landscape is big and open and free. It's loose. Paint it that way. That way you'll get a more natural feel. You'll get a better result. And you'll actually enjoy yourself. Because at the end of the day, what we seem to lose sight of is this is supposed to be fun. But don't get hung up in all that rubbish. I've had fun tonight. Thank you very much indeed.